Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this webinar by NQA. My name is John Millichap. Apologies for the technical hitch earlier on. This is the first time I've actually done this kind of presentation, so I was a little bit too eager at pressing buttons. Hopefully everyone can see my screen, and I'll proceed. So a little bit about myself. I've worked in certification industry for several years now as a business development manager. My main role really is engaging with companies of all sizes, discussing their requirements for certification and looking at possible solutions for them. This can range from single sites through to multi-sites with global entities. So obviously, the more complex, the more discussions that need to take place. But really the aim of myself and the other members of the sales team are to try and get the best possible solution, the easiest route, and the most effective outcome. Myself personally also, I'm a qualified internal and lead auditor in 9001. So that kind of gives me a little bit of insight into the auditing, and I've also implemented 27001 for a company. So really the agenda today is to look at reasons to consider transferring your certification, what the transfer process is, the transfer timescales, how much it costs to transfer as such, and why would you choose NQA? In relation to reasons for transfer, there's three main areas: poor service, companies that are looking to go through a tender process, and a new approach also. The poor service is probably where we have a majority of clients that come to NQA looking to potentially transfer their certification to us. The main reasons for this is level of service they are actually receiving from their current certification body. Fragmented communications, poor back office support, lack of clarity in relation to scheduling, lack of really a point of contact for the customer to engage with and discuss whether it's changes to the certification, changes to the scheduling plan, etc. Another reason in relation to the poor service could be the consistency of the auditor or the assessor. We hear a lot of stories about certification bodies changing their auditor, and obviously this can cause confusion, and also the organisation has got to go through the whole rigmarole of explaining who they are, what the scope is, how everything works, etc. And the general approach to certification sometimes, some certification bodies are reticent to engage and be flexible. They will not engage in looking at integrated management systems, so that can cause obviously issues and problems. And I suppose overall that just winds itself down to value for money. At the end of the day, yourselves as a customer, you are paying a day rate, and that could be a considerable amount of money over the course of the year. And if you're getting an auditor that's coming in and kind of just doing a ticky box scenario, and he's not looking at continually improving or engaging with you as a customer, then ultimately that value for money is going to come into question. The retendering is probably more based in relation to large organizations in the public sector. It's probably usually a contractual requirement. Multi-sites and public sector will have multiple sites across nationally or globally, and what they're looking for really is the best possible solution in relation to cost and also the value that they're going to get from their certification body. Retendering could be there's parent pressure, it could be that there's been an acquisition by a company of another entity, or basically there's been changes within the organisation and a retender has gone to market. In this case, usually it's done every 3 years. It's the end of the expiry date of the certification cycle. And as I say, it's something that happens on a regular basis. Other reasons for transfer that organisations look at is a new approach. They're looking really at having a more competitive day rate and expensive. They're looking at having potentially a more integrated management system. with their current CB, they may have standalone 9,000, 14,000 and 45,000, for instance, and their certification body may not have the capability or may not even want to look at integrated management system for the customer. So again, it's kind of looking at these different approaches in relation to how they manage the system going forward. It might well be that they are looking at a new approach because they want to create opportunities for improvement with their certification. The whole basis of having a management system is to review it on an annual basis, to conduct internal audits, to monitor it all the time, striving for that improvement. And it may well be that they are looking at different ways to learn. The current CB may not actually provide any training, they may not do any webinars, etc. And again, what I've touched on before, what we're finding more and more now is that through acquisitions, companies are growing. They are taking on companies that have their own certification with different certification bodies. So there could be a scenario where there's one organization where they have several standards, and those standards could be with different certification bodies. And what they're looking at, therefore, is to try and do a group certification or a multi-site certification. And a lot of certification bodies are not able to manage this, are not open to it, and not flexible in engaging with the customer to provide those solutions. So what are the steps to certification? Believe it or not, in the certification world, it's pretty easy. Surprise, surprise. So initially you would talk to NQA, whether that's by phone, through a webinar like this, or an email. What we would need and require, which is a UCAS requirement, is basic employer information about the organisation. We'd need to obviously view your current ISO certification to make sure it's valid. We'd also be looking at audit reports. Generally speaking, it's any reports going back to your last recertification, or if you haven't had a recert, back to the stage 2 of your initial certification. And what we're looking at there really is to make sure there aren't any non-conformances open, whether minor or major. And we're also obviously interested to know what your current audit schedule is. What are the audit durations? What have you had? What have you got to have? So it's really just a little kind of minor strategic review of where you are with your certification, and making sure that everything is valid and what non-conformances, if any, are open. What we will look at doing then is we do an internal review. We complete a document called a contract review, and that looks at your risk of the standard that you've got. It looks at things like the number of employees that you've got and where we can actually implement parallel working, where you've got similar job roles. We're also looking at where there's potential complexities, or where there's simple structures. So for instance, in relation to UCAS terms and conditions, a certification body can reduce audit time if we have a large number of parallel workers, or if you have a simple management structure, such as a CEO and a SMT, or if you have a very simple scope, i.e. there's just one activity. Likewise, we can also increase time, where you are subcontracting a lot of processes out of your entity or organization, or where you may have individuals who are speaking the primary language may not be English, so we might need the use of interpreter, which may delay the actual audit process. So, but in general, what NQA are looking at there is, what's your current situation? And what we're doing is to schedule a new audit plan for your next 3 years. In relation to the transfer itself, we can do a remote audit. So for example, if your certificates are valid, you have no outstanding non-conformances, we can actually do a remote audit, depending on how many certificate standards you've got, will impact the duration of time. But generally speaking, we can do that within half a day or a day, and that's done remotely. Once that's completed, your certification is then with NQA, and we would implement our new schedule plan with yourselves. And that's it. congratulations, your transfer is complete. So just to clarify that, so we would check your documentation, we would conduct a strategic review in relation to looking at your current schedule and what changes we think we could make. We'd look to see whether we wanted to make it integrated or a group certification. So there's a host of possible solutions, but basically what I would be doing with you as a customer is talking you through that process, engaging with you, discussing the various solutions that we could have or take, and then obviously producing a quote letter for you. You complete that, we conduct the remote transfer, and hey ho, you're part of NQA and we can move forward. So as I said there, how long is it going to take? It could be less than a week. I've done transfers that have been conducted with information, everything's been agreed, everything's been signed off within a week. And the good thing about as I said before, that what we do conduct there is that strategic review. It's like if you buy insurance, your car insurance, if you don't review your car insurance year on, then your insurer is just going to give you a new quote. They'll probably sneak a little bit of an increase in there, and you're not reviewing it. You don't know whether you're getting any more added value. You may be missing out on opportunities from other providers with free cinema tickets or things like that. So what we're doing as a certification body is reviewing your current situation, and we're looking at the best possible solution and outcome for yourselves, which obviously may mean that there's less resource needed from you as a compliance manager. It may well mean that obviously there's less cost, but ultimately what we're looking for is to make sure that we work together with you to continually improve your certification and your management system. The cost of it, remote transfer is a minimal cost. Generally speaking, if there's one standard, it's approximately £250 to transfer that to us. Sometimes we do have to do a site transfer if there are a number of minor non-conformances or it's a high risk area, then obviously we would need to come on site, and usually that would be a day to transfer. But rest assured, what we would do is a full proposal, and what that would show you would be the accurate duration and an accurate cost. And in my experience, when we've transferred a majority of companies to NQA, and we seem to be getting more and more of these as days go on, then generally there's a better outcome for that organization. It'll be a better outcome in relation to duration, it'll be a better outcome in relation to cost, and it'll be a better outcome in relation to level of service. So who are NQA? If you don't know us, we are a global certification body. We operate in various countries. Our HQ is in Dunstable, near Luton. I sometimes say London because it sounds sexier, but it's actually Dunstable. We're owned by a UK company. In relation to the standards such as 9, 14, 45 and 27, we're in the top 3 in the UK. We do obviously also engage in specialist standards like aerospace and automotive, where we are world leaders in relation to carrying out assessments. We have a massive portfolio of standards. This is another reason why some companies look to transfer to other certification bodies. They might have started with a local certification body, and that local certification body might only do 9001, 14001. Company then is looking at, obviously sees the advantage in the management systems, wants to diversify, wants to add, wants to integrate other standards. They're looking at topics such as, environmental, energy, the 50001. They're looking at the 27001 in relation to InfoSec. But they can't actually get those standards from the certification body they are with. So as a UCAS accredited certification body, we have a massive portfolio of standards. which obviously we can fully integrate or be standalone, because some companies prefer that. But all the time, again, what we're providing is a good analysis of your needs, and we're providing a standard solution for you to actually then accept if you wish to move forward with it. In addition to obviously certification and assessment of management systems, we provide nationwide training. A lot of our training now is virtual, obviously on the back of COVID. Very cost effective, very user friendly, and very effective in obviously looking at areas such as if you're looking at new certification, for the introduction and implementation. If you work in a compliance team, we do internal auditing. It can be our own NQA, or it can be accredited through CQI IRCA. And we do lead auditor, a 5-day, again, accredited with CQI IRCA. For those that have lead auditor in some standards, we also sometimes do a 3-day transition course to other standards. So our training is very popular. It's growing year on year. For our clients as well, we provide free e-learning across the majority of our standards. And obviously, we can also provide bespoke in-house training, and we will obviously give a bespoke price in relation to that. And again, our training covers a wide area of topics: environmental, quality, energy, InfoSec, business continuity, etc. So why would you transfer to NQA? I kind of say that NQA are a unique certification body. Personally, I've worked for several certification bodies in my career, some larger than NQA, some smaller. What I found out about NQA is that they are so flexible and so proactive in actually supporting their customers. In the corner there, you'll see a Net Promoter Score of 70. NPS is the scoring mechanism that's used within the testing, inspection, and certification sector, and it mirrors kind of how you are approaching customer service and how effective you are at customer service. Generally, most of our competitors hit around about the 40 to 50 mark. 70 is an exceptional scoring in NPS. So that just shows you how much we focus on providing excellent customer service. We always also promise to ensure that your certification remains flexible in relation to your business. We prefer to work in partnership with our the companies that we engage with. We're always looking at, the next step. What does that company need? What is their 3-year plan? What is their 5-year plan? How can we support that? How can we support the growth they've got? If they're adding sites, or if they're looking at moving into new markets, what kind of industry trends and experience can we provide? And what standards and management systems would support that growth? Another key thing in relation to NQA is that all our fees are inclusive. We have a standard day rate. There's no hidden expenses. We don't charge any annual management fees. We don't charge any hidden fees in relation to using a portal, etc. We have a standard day rate for each of our management systems and our certification. And that is what, obviously, when you're quoted that day rate, that is the day rate you pay, obviously plus VAT. I think another advantage of moving to NQA is that you will be rest assured and have credibility that we have some of the best auditors obviously operating in the industry. All our auditors are technically competent. What does that mean? That means that if you're working in a specific sector, that auditor has the correct coding to be able to assess. They also have experience of working in that environment or operating in that environment. So they have the full technical competence to be able to support, to give advice and guidance, and to make sure that obviously you are getting a value for money assessment of your management system. The other thing that NQA has is that in relation to our standards, we have principal auditors. And one of their roles is to actually look at the ever-changing world of standards. The recent standard that's going through change at the moment is 27001. It's transitioning to a new version. And what NQA will then be doing in relation to our training department and our principal auditor is looking at providing technical advice and guidance. We're very keen on doing things like this. We look at producing webinars where we engage with our customers, giving them tips and advice and what we would be looking at in relation to any changes. We also obviously make sure that our training is updated and it's relevant and it's obviously user-friendly in relation to supporting all of our customers when they're going through changes or going to look at new standards and management systems. I think the key thing is about what we see and hear a lot from customers who are looking to transfer is they don't feel they're getting a proactive and engaged audit. What NQA approach is that we look at data, we look at insight and experience, we look at the trends, we look at any previous audit experience and trends in relation to the company. And then what we're trying to do is understand what your strategic objectives are. We're trying to understand what your desired outcomes are from having that management system. What is it that you have to provide to your external stakeholders? And obviously, yes, we're also looking at the mandatory elements of the certification. We've got to make sure that you're meeting the requirements of that standard. But really, it's about working together to make sure that you have an enjoyable experience, and indeed that we have an enjoyable experience. And we look at your audit program, and we look at your priorities, and we look at your objectives, and we work together to get the added value that you should be getting from a very good audit in relation to your certification. I think that's me kind of covered everything in relation to how we operate, what the process is for transfers, and how you would engage with us. So obviously, I'm open now to any questions. So there is obviously a box where you can fire any questions you may have. Obviously, you can contact me on my email, which is john.millichap@nqa.com, or you can phone me on 07814 769 485, or obviously go to the NQA website, and there'll be a sales inbox there and various other means to actually contact us. I'm just going to open the questions channel to see if there are any questions. Can we receive your presentation? Of course, yes. This will be emailed out to all participants who have been part of this. So that's obviously we'll do that following completion of this webinar. Any other questions? Questionnaire about our NQA able to take our 9001 together with 14 and work with us to combine all into TS 16949. Yes, obviously your 9001 would evolve into the TS. In relation to 14,001, we would obviously welcome that as well. It would be a combined audit because you can't integrate the TS with the 14,000, but we work with that all the time, and we have a automotive team especially set up in relation to NQA. So Jonathan would welcome a discussion around that and what the possible solutions are, and obviously look at potentially providing you with a audit schedule in relation to the accreditation you've got and how we could move it into the TS 16949. No problem, Jonathan.